Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at my first Wave 2 Transformers Kingdom review, and it's a good one. This is Voyager class Dinobot. This has been one of my most highly anticipated figures from this wave. Super huge fan of the Dinobot character. I've always loved his design, and we've had other Dinobot figures in the past, and some have been okay, some have been not so great. Remember back to the original figure, which was fairly decent. Then they did kind of a weird one in Universe that had really strange proportions. This one looks phenomenal. I mean, if for nothing else, that head sculpt looks like it leapt right out of the cartoon. Let's take a look at the packaging first, though. So we have some phenomenal artwork here on the front. Really cool picture of Dinobot and, of course, his Velociraptor alt mode. Very, very cool. Coming around to the back, of course, you get to see the robot mode and the dinosaur mode of the figure in this kind of cave painting art style that they go for on the back of these packages. And then you just have your standard kind of kingdom group shot there on the side, as we always get. Not too much going on the top or bottom, although it is worth noting that they do have the Predacon symbol on here, as we all know, or if you don't know, I guess technically spoilers. He did start out as a Predacon and then quickly joined the Maximals. So I think it's interesting that they brand him a Predacon in the packaging, because obviously he spent more time as a Maximal, but very much looking forward to this figure. Without further ado, let's get him out of the box and let's take a closer look. Here is Dinobot out of the packaging, and I gotta say, he's absolutely fantastic. They did such a good job with him. I absolutely love him. Very reminiscent of his appearance on the show. He has that kind of wide Velociraptor head across his entire chest, with the actual Velociraptor head hidden in the center there. Actually works really well. But we have to take a look at this head sculpt, because they absolutely crushed that. It looks exactly like the show. They have done such a good job there. All the previous iterations of Dinobot that we had, none of the other figures came close to nailing that head sculpt. That is perfect. It just conveys so much attitude. I absolutely love it. So the head's on a ball joint. You have some up and down, a little bit of side-to-side tilt, and then, of course, a complete rotation there. So a lot of nice movement in the head there. The shoulder pads are a little tiny. I kind of wish they were a little bit bigger, just because they seem to get lost, but it's not a big deal. But, of course, you have a rotation there. You have a hinge, and then you have a bicep swivel right there. You have some weird kind of wonky elbow articulation, but that's because of his transformation, so that he has the articulation he needs in the Velociraptor mode. You have a swivel right here. Then you have kind of a tilt back and forth here, where you can see this big pin is. And then you have the what will become the feet of the Velociraptor, opening and closing there. And then you have these peg holes on his palms so he can hold his weapons. We'll get there in a moment. Now, he does have this kind of weird rocker thing in his waist. I don't really know what that's about, and I don't love it, but it's not a deal breaker or anything. It's just kind of a weird, shaky motion he's got there in his abdomen. But he does, of course, have a waist swivel here. He's got, rotation here in the hips. Now, of course, it does kind of stop because of the way his butt is molded, but you can kick this far forward, about that far, out to the side, no problem. So you have a nice hinge and swivel there in the hip. He's got really tight thigh swivels. Really tight. I can't stress how they're so tight, it's weird. Like, you can move them, but yikes are they tight. I'm hoping they'll loosen over time, because it does become a problem later on in the transformation, and we'll get to that. Not a problem, but just something you have to deal with. Nice movement here in the knee, so you have probably a little bit over, because it does kind of bend back this way as well, so he's got a little bit of reverse knees going on there. And then you have, of course, the ankle tilt, but also the front to back play in the ankle as well. So a lot of nice articulation on this guy. Really, really looks good. Of course, he does come with two accessories. He has the tail piece, which of course opens up just like the original toy to form the, I guess, spinning weapon. Obviously, this doesn't have a spinning gimmick, and I'm very okay with that. I was never a huge fan of that anyway. And then, of course, you have his sword, which is painted purple here. Not really understanding why it's purple. I don't mind it. It looks okay. Let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see the detail. But But on the show, it was just silver, and I think the original toy was just one solid color. So I appreciate that it's painted at all, because I definitely like the contrast of colors. I'd be kind of bummed if it was just the same kind of, goldish color the whole way. Just not really sure why purple, but it's okay. And you can go ahead and peg this in here, and then have him wield it as one weapon, or you can have him use it separately. And that's why I showed you those peg holes on the palms. They just go ahead and peg in like so. And then you can see the sword has this kind of little piece here. Now, the original toy, he could only hold the sword like this, straight out. You can't actually even do that this time because it has that kind of T-joint, or, it has that tab coming out the bottom of the peg. So he can't even hold it straight forward. But they do have it so that this piece here can peg in, and then he can hold it the way he's supposed to, which I appreciate, because like I said, the original toy could only hold it straight out, and it wasn't the best look. Here you can actually hold it exactly like he did on the show. So I appreciate that a lot. I think the accessories really work. I think they look good. Like I said, the purple is a weird choice to me, but honestly, it works. It's a nice contrast of color with the rest of his robot mode, so it really pops for that reason. And just overall, he looks absolutely phenomenal. Not even too much kibble on the back. He's got a little bit of a backpack here, but it's really not that big a deal. It doesn't take away from the robot mode at all. You don't even really see it from the front. And just all the detailing and the paint applications, the kind of bronzish color here on the thighs looks really sharp. The blue here really looks nice. I mean, they just did such an amazing job. This is easily the best Dinobot figure we've ever had. And I know that's not hard to say, but I mean, the original toy was fine. The one they did in Universe, I wasn't really a fan of at all. It was way too weirdly slender. But this one is just, they crushed it. I think they knocked it out of the park. The only thing I could possibly complain about with the robot mode is that weird kind of jitter there in the abdomen or the waist. But when he's just standing there, you don't encounter it. It's not like he's super loose, so he looks phenomenal. So the transformation is actually really interesting. You're going to start with just kind of, extending out the Velociraptor hands, and then kind of put these straight out, straighten these out. You might actually do these forward. I can't remember. You can always change it later. But then you're going to rotate the shoulder pads 180 degrees, like so. Underneath here in the abdomen, you can see his tiny Velociraptor hands are kind of compacted in there. So there is a tiny little tab that's connected to this piece. You can see it right there. So you just kind of want to make sure you clear that. And then you can actually bring these completely out. And then you'll just kind of bring them back here. You can see where there was a tab here that pegged in there. So you're just going to pop those out. So come around to the other side, do the same thing. Pop the hand out, bring it down here, unpeg it, and it's just going to hang back there for now. Now what you can do is actually, this entire section will lift out. So this will kind of come down like that as you lift those out. So lift this out again, and you can kind of move this around like so. This piece is going to fold down and sit flush with this piece. So let me zoom in and show you what I mean. You can see how there's a little spot right there, and there's a little tab. This is going to fold in, and then just kind of tab all together there, and you can see how that all sits flush now. So do the same thing over on this side. And then let me zoom back out. And then you're just going to bring the legs down like so, and there you go. That part's pretty much done. Now if you come around to the back here, this section is going to untab, and you can kind of see, it's a little difficult to see, but there are tabs on this piece that are tabbed into the side here, and so you just kind of want to wiggle that out. And now that once I can get this out, you can see what I mean. There was a tab slot right there, and then there was a tab on each side. You can see it right there. So that's just going to kind of extend out for now. Let me zoom back out here. This whole section will unpeg, so you're going to pull this away, and you can see that there was a large tab right here that was pegged into the back of the dinosaur head right there. So when that happens, you're going to bring this around. This is going to lift up. Make sure that you have the head, because you can see that the head is very wide, and it barely kind of fits through here. So just make sure you have it lined up so that it does come up. This tab right here is going to tab in right there. So you just kind of bring this around and it kind of comes up and covers Dinobot's head like so. Let me zoom back out here. At this point, you're going to flip up the dino head, and it's a little weird because it's on kind of a strange mechanism. So you want to pull this up, and it might feel like you have to give it a little bit of force, but it will go up, as you can see there. And he's got kind of this like little piece here in the neck that kind of springs out. And I think that's just to, you know, fill out that section so it doesn't look hollow, which I appreciate. But it does kind of make opening the dinosaur mouth a little awkward at times. You can get it to do it. And I mean, nicely painted inside of the mouth, nicely painted teeth. I love the eyes. They're super like angry. It's a really great design for the raptor head. But yeah, it's a little weird at times getting those joints with the mouth to move because of the way the head's made, but it all works. So now we get to the legs, and the legs are going to be the very interesting part, and you'll see what I mean. So the first thing you're going to do, and you can kind of see this is why, I don't know why it has that rock, but you can kind of see it in action there. So for the waist, you can see how it extends so much farther out than the neck of the raptor. You're going to just rotate this around 180 degrees, and then it all sits very nicely flush. You're going to come to the feet. You're going to fold in the heels, like so. Then you're going to open up these sections on the side of the legs, and they are going to flip up like so. And this is where it gets a little complicated. So again, I mentioned those thighs earlier being a problem. You want to make sure that they're lined up. So if you have them, you know, turned in any way from the robot mode, you really want to make sure they're lined up, because this little tab slot here on the kneecap, right here, has to peg in right there. You know, you can kind of bring this down a while, because how this works, and it's kind of bonkers, but so like I said, this tab spot is going to tab into that. This tab right here is going to tab up underneath here. And then there's a tab on the feet right there that's actually going to come all the way up and hit this spot here. So if we bring this down, this is going to come up, and you want to make sure that these are folded all the way up as much as you can. And you just have to really line this all up. So this has to go pretty far in, which is kind of weird. And so you'll see this kind of fits in here. This goes up in there, and then that all tabs in there. And that actually went a lot easier. The first time I did it, I had a lot more trouble, but you can see that's how that goes. So let's do this again over here. Make sure this is folded all the way up. This goes in there. This is going to come up and go in this spot here. And then make sure that's all lined up. And like I said, that was actually much easier for me this time. So I guess once you do it once or twice, it gets a little easier. Oh, the tail seems to have come undone. So just make sure that's where that needs to be. Okay, so then you can bring the arms to the front. These sections will just fold down on those big hinges and then bend the legs back. And you can see that the raptor is almost complete. We're going to take the sword, place it inside the tail, close it up so that just that little tip sticks out, and then we're going to peg that in to the back, as you might expect. And there you go. There is your Velociraptor mode. So here is Dinobot in his Velociraptor mode, and I think he looks pretty fantastic. Again, really, really nice job. Again, they always have trouble hiding the robot legs in this mode. I mean, the original toy was 10 times worse, because they literally just hung here on the bottom and then the feet tucked into his throat, and it was very obvious and awkward. I think they've done a much better job here. Still not 100% because you can completely see them underneath here, but they definitely are much more compact and, you know, better hidden. Honestly, in hand, I feel like it looks better than the press photos that I saw. Because all the press photos, I felt like I could still really see the legs a lot. And I can still see them, of course, but they're definitely, you know, integrated into the raptor body a lot more seamlessly here than I had seen in the press photos, and again, certainly much more than the original toy. So I think they did a pretty good job. Now again, you do see a little bit of the robot torso here on the back of the leg, You know, not the best, but not a deal breaker by any means. And like I said earlier, I absolutely love that dino head. Really great job there. Really nice paint. I wish it could open a little bit more, but I'm pretty happy with it. And like I said, sometimes when I close it, you know, it's just a weird joint. The way it's made, it's very tight, and it's just kind of strange in that regard. The other thing is, I don't love the hands. They just kind of go straight down, and there's a joint here. There is a ball joint, but because these pieces are molded straight down, you can't really do anything. Like, I wish there was, I don't know, maybe the joint was here instead of here. I just don't know. I don't know what I wish. I just think the hands look a little goofy. Again, not a huge problem by any means, but I just think having them hang straight down, it looks a little goofy. It's not a big deal, but again, just kind of looks a little goofy. But you do have a hinge and a swivel here in the like shoulder, I guess. You have a hinge here in what would be its elbow, and then you have a ball joint there where the hand connects. And it's been a minute since I've watched a Jurassic Park movie or anything like that. Maybe Velociraptor's hands really do just hang down like that. I don't know. But I mean, you know, they were opening doors in Jurassic Park. I would assume they'd have to have some kind of movement to them to be able to do that. Here with the legs, pretty much the same articulation. That was the elbow in robot mode. Same swivel there, the rocker there. So that's all the same articulation from the robot mode. But yeah, the tail looks good. Overall, I think the color scheme looks great. I'm really, really happy with this. I think the Raptor mode looks pretty fantastic. Dinobot is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he is easily the best Dinobot figure we've ever gotten. The head sculpt's fantastic. The paint applications are great. Articulation's fantastic. Transformation back and forth from robot to Raptor is fun. It's clever. I really like the engineering displayed. It's just all around a fantastic figure, and I can't recommend picking him up enough. If I had to complain about something, like I said, I think the rock there in the waist is a little weird. I don't really know, what's creating that, if it's just the kind of joint they used in there or what. But again, not a huge problem, because when he's in robot mode, he's just standing there. He doesn't wiggle unless you move him and you shake him like that. Like, even just moving him around, he doesn't shake around all that much. It's only if you specifically wiggle that joint. Otherwise, I think the Raptor hands are a little goofy, but again, certainly not a deal breaker by any means. This is a fantastic figure, and if you're any kind of a Beast Wars fan, then you definitely need to add this to your collection, because I don't know how they could do much better. This guy is just absolutely perfect. I love him. I can't recommend him enough. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.